Ready?
Yeah.
Hi. Thanks for watching the video on the breathing. Shaman and I are here. We're gonna make we're making you a little additional video because we want you guys to get the most out of the 2.5 hours we have together next week. And so giving you a little more background anatomically and otherwise will give us a head start so that we can get you guys breathing better, and then showing you how to take that into using your breath to generate a far more integrated kind of motion than you can do without using your breath and your hydraulic system. So let's pull up that scapula again. Grab that scapula and keep that scapula this way. So
I'll grab it while you
so the thing that we really need to take a look at first, when we're going to try to take our breathing from laying in the supine position to being up and about and actually using it to do things ultimately in every different orientation you can imagine, the first thing we have to do is look at posture, because one of the big reasons that people breathe so poorly in America is because we have epidemically bad posture in this country. And that, I don't know if you, Shaman is here, she's a physical therapist, we work together a lot, and we do a lot of jiu-jitsu together. So wouldn't you say that at least I feel like the bad posture in America is a part of so much pathology, everything from asthma to digestion problems, headaches,
musculoskeletal, spinal issues,
all manner of musculoskeletal issues. And that often leads to people taking medications that make them sicker. You know, so. And posture is such an easy thing to correct, because the truth is your posture is just a memory.
It's a habit.
But you continue to recreate every day.
Habit becomes posture, posture becomes structure.
Yes.
Over time.
So we're going to look at posture today. And so to start off, what we're going to do, I'm going to start by demonstrating for you the typical American posture. And I'll show this from the side. It's probably familiar to all of you what happens when somebody, after 12 plus years of school and just the general features of our lifestyle. So it our posture gets to be like this. You know, we go to school, we read, we don't really read on books anymore, we read on devices. If we want to look up, we have this motion come from right here. And so the head is in front of the shoulders, and the shoulders are rolled forward, and there's a big slope from my tail up to the top of my head, unless I get that little curve right at the top of my neck. Okay? But then when we want to sit up straight, because we want to sit up straight, it feels better to sit up straight. Your fluids move better when you're actually fully extended. But so
because you're not compressing your diaphragm.
Because I'm not compressing all of my organs and not allowing my diaphragm to move when I'm in this position. So when I want to sit up straight, what I do is I throw my low back forward. I go from being on the back of my sit bones to being on the front of my sit bones. But that, as you can see, it took my my convexity here, and it turned it into a concavity. Right? So now my low back is hyperextended. Basically all the motion that I generate to sit up straight happened right down here. And nothing really changed from here to here. All of that stayed the same. When I am slouched forward like this, my healthy range of motion in my shoulder is very limited. It really stops right here. I can start at this point right here. I feel strain on the front on the tendons of my rotator cuff right here. And there's actually a virtual anatomical barrier for me lifting my arm up any higher than that. And Shaman is going to come over and show what that looks like on my back and why this is a problem. And if you want, Nate, you can grab a picture of this scapula so Shemin can explain. So go ahead, take a look at that scapula. It's a fin with a little cup, on it.
And so moving the fin is going to orient the cup, right?
Maybe we should show upright first and then the slouch.
Sure, yeah. So, so when your spine is nice and long and stacked, I'm going to just kind of outline her scapula for you. So this is that bottom corner border, and then this is the top border up here. And so when her spine is vertical and stacked properly, you could see how the scapula comes to a more vertical orientation. And so when she goes to move her arm, the upper part of that scapula moves in and down, and then this lower angle moves out and away. So it's kind of this spiral that happens that allows, as she moves her arm out, it allows that little cup to be oriented upwards as this comes down, right? So now if she rounds her spine and slouches, you can see how her shoulder blade now is oriented. It's gone from vertical, the top is pointing down, and then the bottoms kind of kick out towards you. So now when she goes to move her arm, there's a huge limitation because structurally something is going to be stopping her because this can't spin if it's not vertical, right?
Yeah, and it's kicked back.
And it's
this.
kicked, right, it's kicked off to
that
the side.
The cup ends up being pointed forward and to the side. So it's difficult for me to bring the cup into an orientation where I can just lift up and down because it's stuck this way.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Yep,
All right,
absolutely.
Can you see that, Nate?
Yeah.
Okay. So, now we want to look at, so that's something that we're going to want to change. You see the difference in healthy shoulder range of motion. People that have really round shoulders over time put repeated strain on their tendons that cause a lot of micro tears and inflammation that eventually leads to pathology and possibly surgery and some drugs on the way. The next part of this that we want to look at, because
Can I add
please add as much.
I think an important thing to note is that because the scapula rests on the ribs and has to move along the ribs, and the ribs are attached to the spine, if you don't orient and extend properly through the spine, you can't fix the shoulder blades. They're married, right? And so even if you try and pull your shoulder blades back and together, you're still not really orienting them in a way that's going to create a healthy range of motion.
Agreed. And so what we're looking for, another one of the things that Shemin is really exceptional at is getting extension. You can go ahead and show the Rama how he just
Creeping
into the
picture.
What is that called, like a video bomb or something? That's Rama. Okay. So back to this. Do you have a good view of these different bones here, Nate?
Yeah.
Great. So the next thing we need to do is talk about the thoracic spine and how do we extend it. You know, people try to extend it by throwing their low back forward, but they're not moving they're not really moving the vertebrae of their upper back, and then they also try to pull their shoulders back. That also is not going to change the orientation of the vertebra themselves. So what we want to talk about right now is how do you change the orientation of those vertebrae themselves. So in order to talk about that, first we want to familiarize you with your vertebra. And this is, if you have a netter at home, and if you don't, I recommend you get one. This is plate 143 and 144 from Netter. And so, do you want to show them the important parts of the thoracic spine? The
Sure.
Processes.
Sure. So this big, thick area of bone is your vertebral body. And then there's a ring here where your spinal cord is going to sit. And then you have two little offshoots.